How's everyone doing today? It's your boy JJ Domination, and today I have some news to report to you about my Green Bay Packers. Two things actually. Number one, yesterday as of recording this, they gave Dean Lowry a 3-year, $20 million contract. Apparently the majority of that is a signing bonus, so he is going to be making not as much as you think. A lot of it is just a signing bonus. That's what I was able to figure out about the details of the contract. I would say well-deserved, man. You know, Dean Lowry is one of those players who gets better and better with every snap. I feel like it really helps him out there. He gains his confidence. But the shocking news that everyone is going to be talking about is Mike Daniels. Mike Daniels was released before our first preseason game. Because y'all know, Green Bay fan. But he was released before our first preseason game. A lot of people seem to be surprised, like, oh, this is such a surprise move by the Packers and blah, blah, blah. I am here to tell you that this is not a surprise move and that people are just overreacting as usual. Now, I like Mike Daniels. I think he's a good player for what he does for this team. But you could see within the last 2 seasons, he was really starting to fade away. I think people just look at the name Mike Daniels and don't really look at the player. Yes, he's a dominant presence. Yes, he can impact the game, but he was no Aaron Donald game wrecker. He was just good at clogging up lanes. Well, if that's your specialty, do you know how many guys can clog up the lane? There's a lot of dudes coming out of college football these days who really don't have pass rushing moves that can clog up the lane. Now, Mike Daniels was special because he did have pass rushing moves, and even though he never completed the sack, he had a lot of pressures, and he would help guys like Kyler Fackrell and Kenny Clark finish these sacks. So, you know, that's always just an interesting thing to talk about. Mike Daniels, though, it does hurt because, you know, I like Mike Daniels. I liked him a lot. But let's just take a look over the last year, I guess you could say. Yeah, basically the last year. Let's look at 5 players who were on the Green Bay Packers who are no longer here, because this Green Bay team is completely different. I think after 2 years of sucking and being irrelevant, I think that they're going to be pretty damn good this season. I would like to just take a guess and say that. But, you know, let's just look at 5 players who are no longer here. So let's start off with Nick Perry. Nick Perry had like one pretty good season, and then after that really didn't do a whole lot. A pretty inconsistent player, struggled with durability, you know. And I'm not saying struggled to where, you know, he was only hurt one season. It was like every season he was hurt. Something was wrong with his shoulder or his hand. There's just always an issue with him. The second player is Clay Matthews, man. He was a longtime franchise player, and you know, after I think like 10 years, they finally decided, you know what, we've enjoyed you over the years, but it was time to go. I was actually saying that this team should have cut Clay Matthews 2 seasons ago, but they finally just decided not to bring him back in free agency. It is what it is. You know, best of luck to him in LA. And you're probably like, well, why didn't you wish Nick Perry luck? Well, as of now, Nick Perry isn't on an NFL roster, and we are in July with about another week until the first preseason game, which will be the Hall of Fame game. Also, another player that we moved on from, Jordy Nelson. So, of course, Jordy Nelson had that 1 year in Oakland. He did have a couple of good games, man, but he really wasn't anything special out there for the Raiders. Their passing offense wasn't good. A lot of that had to do with the offensive line struggles. A lot of it had to do with, you know, Derek Carr not being as good as people make him out to be, which, hey, it is what it is. You know, and a lot of it had to do with some injuries and durability, just overall for all aspects of the offense. And then you look at Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb, of course, was a lifer on this team. It seemed like he was always going to be here in some sort of capacity. He signs a 1-year deal with the Dallas Cowboys. He is not a future plan for the Dallas Cowboys with all the guys they have to pay, but he will help, you know, maintain the competitive aspect of them. You know, he is basically the Cole Beasley replacement. The thing that I like about him is he's able to extend plays, and when he is running routes, he's able to get other people open instead of just himself like Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley really doesn't help get other guys open with the route combinations. Randall Cobb can do that. That's where he's valuable. Did I mention all 5 players? Oh, no. And then, of course, just Mike Daniels, who just got released. Now, the thing about Mike Daniels is a lot of injury concerns. He's a good player, but a lot of injuries, man. A lot of nagging injuries. Of course, over the last 2 years, he has suffered some foot injuries. He's been playing on a bum ankle for a long time, and apparently Green Bay tried to trade him, which I didn't even know until details came out. Apparently Green Bay was trying to trade him and nobody would, trade for him, which is kind of wild, man. You would think, there'd be a few teams out there wanting his services, but I guess not, but Mike Daniels would definitely sign with somebody maybe towards the end of the preseason, maybe sooner than that. But Mike Daniels is a guy, man, you could find another Mike Daniels on the street. I hate to say it like that because Mike Daniels is a good player, but there are so many players now that are just like Mike Daniels. I mean, guys like him are replaceable. I hate to say it. If we talk about all these great running backs that are replaceable, why can't we talk about an interior defensive lineman being replaceable? I mean, college football just shits them out by the dozens. They're really not that hard to find. An undrafted guy like, Tom Lancaster for Green Bay last season was one of the better run defenders in limited snaps last season, and he was an undrafted free agent that I had no clue even existed. So there you have it. He came onto the scene and he played good in a limited role. As a full-time player, I don't know. But with injuries being a concern, also, he was up for a contract, not an extension, but he needed a new contract after this season because he was an impending free agent. Not only does this clear up cap space by releasing him, you also have another guy you need to pay by the name of Kenny Clark, who of course accepted his 5th-year option. But, it'll be, whatchamacallit. It'll be easier, I guess, to negotiate now that you have more cap space, and they don't really have to do it right away. Which is interesting. I'm sorry, I'm reading something about the Mike Daniels news. So yeah, those are the two things really. The injury concern, him just being injured over and over. The same ankle, the same foot has been giving him problems basically for the last 3+ seasons. And of course, guys like him are replaceable. It is what it is. You can hate me for saying that all you want to. It's just the reality of the situation. And of course he was up for, he needed a new contract after this season. But let's just talk about the rest of the room outside of Mike Daniels. You're probably like, well, who's going to play that position? Mike Daniels ain't there. Who's going to play that position? And they have some guys. The only thing is they're young and they don't really have the most experience and they're unproven. You know what I'm saying? But the only way you're going to find out whether or not they can make it is if they play. So yeah, they're unproven now, but maybe they play well throughout the season. Because if you really think about it, all the rookies coming into the NFL are unproven. There are still players that have been playing for like 3 years who are unproven. So it is what it is. So you look at Montravius Adams. This is his 3rd season with the Green Bay Packers. He's another interior lineman that could potentially start. I feel like that spot's going to be wide open. Maybe they just give it to Rashawn Gary, who can do a little bit of everything. But I feel like for Montravius Adams on running downs, that's going to be important. He's a pretty athletic big man. The problem is he's not the greatest of getting off the block. He's not the greatest block shedder. He can clog the lane, but he's not really going to do much after that. He is fast. I wish he would use his athleticism a little bit more to help extend, some of the defending plays on his part, but it is what it is. He's a good athlete. You could probably plug him in at the goal line. That's about it. He's just going to stuff and clog lanes, but he's not the greatest block shedder. And then you have a guy like Tyler. I think his name's Tyler Lancaster. I think I called him a different name earlier, but I forgot what I called him. I think it was Tom Lancaster, but his name is Tyler. I just had to look that up to confirm. So Tyler Lancaster, he's a guy that could probably fill in that role. He's more of a nose than he is a defensive end, but because he'd be an oversized 3-4 defensive end, he would definitely get back there and clog the lanes. He's definitely strong enough and has good leverage and low center of gravity like Mike Daniels to get back there. Not saying he is Mike Daniels. I'm just saying from a physical standpoint, he can offer what Mike Daniels offers you, if that makes any sense. And of course, like we said, Dean Lowry got that extension. Another guy that could potentially come to mind here is James Looney, who was like a 7th round pick or an undrafted free agent, I can't remember, but he was on this team last year, and in a limited role he looked solid, nothing too special. You know, I think Tyler Lancaster, I think would be the guy for me that gets the job. But, you know, we've seen Rashawn Gary do it from the inside, you know, as well as the edge. Maybe he rotates in and out. And then also you have Zadarius Smith, who at times is playing inside for the Baltimore Ravens. I know people look at these guys as edge rushers, but you got to think they are a little bit bigger than your average edge rusher. So they're going to be able to line up inside at times and probably win at the point of attack. We've also seen it with guys like Jadeveon Clowney, Trey Flowers, and a lot of others. And I'm basically talking about for 1st and 2nd down. Obviously on 3rd down, you're going to go out there with smaller formations. You know, as the pass blockers are going to be spread out, you can get one-on-one battles and you can win those one-on-one battles. I mean, that will be different. But really for the running downs, mainly 1st and 2nd down, you can plug in a, you know, insert 300-pounder who can shed blocks here. You know, basically, and clog up the lane. Basically, that's all you need. Just a 300-pound dude who can shed blocks at a decent rate, but really can just, you know, wreck a little bit of havoc, get back there, clog up the lane. That's all you really need. College football spits them out. It's nothing too major to freak out about. I know some people are like, well, you know, he's a great player. What are you going to do to replace him? Watch my video. I'm going to tell you how to replace him. Just bring in a dude. That's all you need, is just a dude. You have Kenny Clark, who is going to dominate the middle like he did last season. You have Dean Lowry, who seems to get more confident and better with the snaps. And, of course, you have a good amount of pass rushers now. You have Rashawn Gary, who can play the inside, Zadarius and Preston Smith, who both have experience playing a little bit on the inside. So it's not like they're going to struggle out there. I mean, they have the experience to do so. If they didn't, I'd be concerned. But you just never know, man. You know what I'm saying? It sucks that he's gone, Mike Daniels, but it should be interesting. I know for a fact someone's going to pick him up. I don't know who at the top of my head, but I just know someone's going to pick him up. Let me know how you guys are feeling down below. Do you think Mike Daniels would be that huge of a loss for Green Bay, or do you think he's a pretty replaceable player? You know, let me know how you guys feel in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like on this video, share it with your friends and all that, and peace.